Welcome to This Explainer. Grab your magnifying glasses because today we are stepping straight into the shoes of a financial detective. Whether you're investing your hard-earned money in stocks or you're just watching new highways get built in your city, the construction industry is this fascinating and, honestly, sometimes kind of shadowy world. Specifically, we're going to unpack the rulebook known as Accounting Standard 7, or AS7. We'll be uncovering exactly how financial statements can be manipulated in this industry, and, more importantly, how this specific standard shuts those loopholes down cold. So it's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How exactly do construction companies fake their profits and hide their losses? Think about it. When a massive project takes 3 whole years to build, how does a company decide what they actually earned in year 1? Well, as financial detectives, this is exactly where we have to hunt down the creative accounting tricks that companies use to make themselves look far more profitable than they really are. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for the investigation. First, the construction accounting game. Second, playing games with revenue. Third, manipulating costs and losses. Fourth, structural tricks and disclosures. And finally, Section 5, the auditor's ultimate checklist. Section 1, the construction accounting game. To catch our villain, we first really need to understand the foundational rules of the game they're playing. Basically, everything hinges on this one definition, the percentage of completion, or POC. Because building a skyscraper or highway takes such a long time, companies obviously don't just wait until the ribbon-cutting ceremony at the very end to declare their profits. Instead, they use this POC method to recognize revenue and expenses based on the proportion of work they've supposedly completed on a given contract. Manipulating this very concept is the actual foundation of the most common accounting frauds we are going to explore today. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this single, incredibly powerful number. Just imagine a company is building a bridge. They are actually only 50% done with the physical work, but they falsely claim they are at 70% completion. Why would they do that? Well, just to book early profits and make their current financial year look spectacular to investors. It's a total artificial inflation of their progress. Section 2. Playing games with revenue. Let's look closely at the specific schemes companies use to artificially pump up those income streams. So, the loophole we just talked about is inflating that POC to overstate revenue. But how does the standard stop this? The AS7 fix strictly dictates that artificial inflation is absolutely not permitted. The stage of completion has to be determined using a reliable and verifiable method. We're talking hard, concrete data here, actual costs incurred, physical surveys, or physical progress tracking. And it all has to be backed by supporting documents. You literally can't just guess or make up a number. Here is another sneaky revenue trick. Recognizing revenue even when collecting the actual cash is completely doubtful. Think about billing a client who just went bankrupt. The huge risk here is creating fake revenue, which leads to a disastrous cash flow mismatch down the line when that money never actually shows up. The AS7 fix clearly states that contract revenue is recognized only when it is probable that economic benefits will actually flow to the entity and can be measured reliably. It basically stops paper profits from masking a real cash crisis. And check out this classic maneuver. Contractors will often try to pad their income by throwing in unapproved change orders, variations, or claims to artificially increase revenue. So the crucial point is that AS7 dictates these variations can only be included in contract revenue when they are formally approved by the customer or if recovery is highly probable and measurable. A contractor cannot just bill for unauthorized extra work out of thin air to inflate their top line. Section 3, manipulating costs and losses. If a company realizes they can't fake their revenue because AS7 is watching, they're inevitably going to try to hide their costs. And this brilliantly illustrates how the cost loophole works. Companies sometimes take entirely irrelevant or future costs, like general administrative overhead or costs from idle time, and just dump them into a project's accounting to artificially distort the profit calculation. AS7 fixes this by drawing a very hard line. Only costs directly attributable to the contract are allowed. General admin and abnormal costs must be completely excluded unless they are specifically recoverable under the contract terms. Another major trick we see is underestimating the total contract cost. Companies will lowball the estimated total cost to show a temporarily higher profit margin today. But guys, this is literally a ticking time bomb for sudden massive losses in the future when reality finally catches up. And that is exactly why the AS7 fix demands that total cost must be based on realistic, up-to-date data, and any revisions have to be recorded immediately so they reflect in the profit calculation right away. Which leads us to a very dangerous practice, delaying the recording of a known expected loss. Imagine management fully knows a project's costs will exceed its contract revenue, but they decide to just hide it for now to protect this year's financial statement. AS7 has absolute zero tolerance for this. An expected loss must be recognized immediately in full, completely irrespective of the stage of completion. There's no hiding under AS7. The loss hits the books instantly, so investors aren't misled. Now, sometimes the issue isn't deliberate malice. Sometimes it's just sheer incompetence. A poor cost tracking system creates a nightmare for audits and leads to wrong profit calculations. The AS7 solution here requires the strict maintenance of separate, contract-wise cost records with proper allocation and periodic reconciliation. The data just has to be pristine. Section 4. Structural tricks and disclosures. We've covered revenue, we've covered costs. Now let's shift our focus to how the actual structure of the contracts and the fine print get manipulated. So, a big loophole is splitting or combining contracts artificially. A company might try to mix a really bad, loss-making project with a highly profitable one just to hide the losses, basically shifting profits around artificially. The AS7 fix shuts this down entirely by insisting that any segmentation or combination of contracts must be based strictly on the commercial reality and the true substance of the agreement. You can't just mix and match to hide the truth. And to ensure companies aren't hiding these structural tricks, remember that transparency is our ultimate weapon against fraud. AS7 requires some very specific disclosures. The entity has to openly disclose the contract revenue recognized, the exact method used for the stage of completion, the amount of advances received, and all the nitty-gritty details regarding retentions and work in progress. This is what keeps investors fully informed. Section 5. The auditor's ultimate checklist. We've uncovered the loopholes and the rules. Now, let's step into the role of the auditor who actually verifies that all these AS7 rules are being followed. Let's move to and see how this builds a bulletproof verification process. Because honestly, the biggest loophole is simply a lack of verification. An auditor verifies these 4 steps to prevent fraud risk. Step 1, verify the actual site progress reports. Step 2, cross-check the internal cost records. Step 3, review third-party engineer or architect certifications. And Step 4, meticulously examine the actual contract agreements. This is how you tether the numbers on a page to the physical steel and concrete in the real world. So here is your ultimate cheat sheet, a quick revision box for our financial detectives. It perfectly summarizes the 6 main areas we've covered. For the POC method, the risk of early profit booking is solved by verified completion basis. For cost inclusion, profit distortion is fixed by allowing only direct costs. For loss recognition, hidden losses are cured by immediate provision. Fake income from revenue certainty is blocked by probable inflow conditions. Overstated variations require strict approval. And finally, a lack of clarity in disclosure is fixed by mandating full, transparent contract details. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a provocative thought to apply the next time you're reading a financial statement. If a company's profit relies entirely on a self-reported percentage, are you looking at their reality, or are you just looking at their imagination? Keep your inner detective sharp, always keep verifying the data, and never take a percentage of completion at face value. Thanks for joining me.